How about that? All right. And I'm assuming everybody can see me. Yeah, it looks good. All right. And then if you have questions along the way, you can type them in. I'll get to them at the end. Maybe, maybe not. All right. So, the title of this is Only Amateurs Cold Call. And, I was thinking maybe I should say cold calling is for amateurs or only amateurs should cold call. Not really sure which one sounds the best, but anyhow, I came up with one. And you guys are here, so it must have sounded okay. And the reason I put this together is I noticed over the years, and let me just start by saying I've been in real estate for a little while. And I have noticed that what most real estate training programs are teaching people to do today is the same thing that they were teaching people to do back in the 1980s. Don't ask me how I know what they were teaching back in the 1980s. Let's just assume that despite my youthful appearance, I do know. Right. And what I've also noticed is that the world seems to be changing, and that a lot of those things didn't seem to work very well to me back in the 1980s, and I don't think that they're working very well right now. Now, the point of this is, and there's a fundamental concept that if you're in real estate, which means you're in sales, that you have to have a handle on, and that is that what you're paid to do, what is the most important thing for you to do is to find clients. If you're a salesperson, right, like your license says, real estate salesperson's license, if you're a salesperson, your number one job is to go get clients. And when people say to me, well, if I join, and your team or your office, are you just going to give me leads? And do I just, is somebody going to hand me listings so I could then work them? And you're unclear on the concept, right? Because what is it that a real estate agent does that could be worth hundreds of thousands, even millions of dollars? And the answer is it's developing a client base. That's the thing. And so the bottom line is that the more people you talk to about real estate, the more often you're going to get paid. If you only talk to some people about real estate, you're only going to get paid some. But if you talk to a lot of people about real estate, then you would get paid, well, a lot. And everyone you know and everyone you meet is a potential client pretty much, because everybody is interested in buying or selling real estate, if not now, in the future. Right, and I'll tell you that just because somebody is doing a lot of real estate transactions, that does not mean they're necessarily good at real estate. What it means is they're good at getting clients. And I can't tell you how many agents I've seen where it seems like they're selling a lot of real estate and they are in fact terrible real estate agents, but they're very good at talking to people, networking, and that sort of thing. Right, very good at it. Right, so where could you get leads, right? You understand, you need to understand you have a need for leads, right? I know we're coming from need, but you have a need for leads. And what are the most common places real estate agents could get leads? Well, number one is referrals, right? And we're going to talk about that a little bit, what percentage. And by the way, we're going down in descending order of quality. Like a referral from a family, friend, coworker, past client is usually a better lead. Organic, right? Organic means that you're doing something such that people are willing to come to you, right? We'll talk about that. That could be blogging, it could be a YouTube channel. You're doing something, you're providing some information that people are interested in, and they find you and they contact you. And what are we saying? Where do you put open houses in the hierarchy? I'll get to that later. That would be, that's not in the hierarchy. That's a bonus thing I do with agents. All right, we'll talk about that. Portals, by portals, we mean like Realtor.com and Zillow and buying ads and things like that. Pay per click, PPC, we're going to talk a little bit about that. And that's where you run ads either on Google, Facebook, or whatever. Social media at this point is not necessarily the ads, but connecting with people in social media. And at the bottom of it, I have lists. And what I mean by lists are lists of people to call, or if you want to talk about door knocking, lists of areas to go door knocking or people to knock on doors. And back in the old days, right? Back in the old days, when people had landline phones, right? And, we didn't have GPS, back in the Jurassic Park real estate, era. What most sales organizations would do, including real estate, is they would have phone calling contests, right? You would call it dialing for dollars or something like that, where people would show up at the office and the office would have pizza and we would provide them lists and people would call, that sort of thing. That's at the bottom of my list. And even back then, there was some business that was acquired from it, but not as much as you would think. We're going to look at the actual numbers. So what is cold calling, right? When we say that, what we're talking about is when you're interrupting somebody, you're contacting somebody that you do not know, and you don't know if they're interested in your service at all. Not at this point, you're just randomly talking to people. And we used to have people that would do that. So they would get a list of everybody that owned a home, and they would call them up and say, "Hi, my name's Mike, I'm a real estate agent. I'm calling to see if you're interested in selling your home in the near future." And they say no. And you'd say, "So when do you plan on selling your home?" And they'd say, "Never." And then you'd say, "Well, do you know of anybody that's, family, friends, or coworkers, and and that are interested in buying or selling or investing in real estate?" And they say no. And then you hang up and call somebody up. It sort of went like that. Notice this, I like this from payscale.com. There was a survey that they did. Even telemarketers themselves see their jobs as one that makes the world worse, right? And one of the things that I noticed, because I worked for several large real estate companies. One of them that was really more into this was, I don't want to mention their name, the initials were K and W, however. And one of the things that I noticed is that people that were good at getting business by making phone calls would then have a team. And because one person is making phone calls, the rainmaker, and then they would give the leads to people on the team. And then because you were able to do that, they would have you a bigger team, and pretty soon they would want you to be an office manager, because they thought that if you could cold call people and get business and sustain a real estate team, that somehow that made you a good leader or manager. And I never got that. Right? I never understood that connection, because it oftentimes didn't seem to be the case. Now, using the phone to call somebody that we already know or have communicated with would be an appropriate use. And by the way, this is just my opinion, right? What I'm saying today, I want you to understand that this is not necessarily the official line of EXP or any other major real estate organization, but I'm just saying that using it to call people that you do not know can be viewed as an intrusive and inefficient way of doing business. That's what I'm saying. And how do you guys feel when people call you? You got your real estate license, which means your phone number is on the MLS, which means anybody can get their hands on it, like me, or anybody that has a valid credit card can get their hands on the list. So you guys get calls, don't you? Right? Are you happy to get them? Are you chatty with the people? Right? My phone is pretty good at, filtering them out. One of the few studies that I was able to find recently came from the Keller Seller. I wonder if that is connected to the anyhow. And what they said from what their survey was is that the cold calls were answered 28% of the time. Of the people that agents speak to, 1.7 turn into appointments or referrals. By the way, if you're looking at national numbers as to what is the effectiveness of cold calling, it's usually, you'd see it quoted as under 2% right, which this is, part of. So you understand you have to make a lot of calls, right, in order to get an appointment. So how does this actually work in practice? Now, this is from, as you can see, the 2020. I don't know if the 2021 is out yet. 2020, National Association of Realtors survey of home buyers and sellers. And the first one we're going to just take a peek at is this one is for buyers. And this is an interesting chart, wouldn't you say? How the buyer found their real estate agent. How do buyers find the real estate agent? Number one, survey says, number one, referred by or is a friend, neighbor, or relative. That's 40%. Used agent previously is 13%. So that means that 53% of the buyers are working with either a repeat or referral, right? They're either a repeat client or a referral client. Inquired about a specific property online. Now, that is a somewhat generic term that might refer to either somebody going to a portal or you're running an ad about a particular property, but 7% of the time they saw it on a website. 6 visited an open house, 6%. Now, those of you that work with me know I believe in doing open houses, particularly if you're a new agent, beginning agent, whatever. You might, even if you're a used agent. And 6% of the buyers, when asked, how did you find your agent, said they did that. They met them at an open house. Referred by another real estate broker, 5%. Look at this one here. Personal contact by agent. Telephone, email, etc., 4%. That percentage has not changed in a long time. I look at this report every year, right? Every year, and it's almost always 4%. By the way, the open house number has gone up a little bit. Others, the internet, some of those numbers have gone up, but 4% of the buyers said they got their agent from an open house, from direct contact. Right, telephone, email, etc. Right, for calling buyers. Right, and they're harder to call. I know you're thinking we would be calling sellers, but you have a much better chance of getting a buyer percentage-wise at an open house than you would, cold calling. Well, what about sellers? What about sellers? Because that's who we call. We know where they live. Right, we know where they live. We can get their phone numbers. Right, we can get their email addresses, we can go knock on their door, there's no way they can avoid us. So what about sellers? Notice that when you add it together, 67% of all sellers found their agent from either repeat or referral business, 67%. Internet website, 5%. Personal contact, there it is again, 4%. So websites are at 5%, visited an open house, met again, referred through an employer relocation company, it goes down. Notice even direct mail, newsletter, flyer, and postcard, they said that happened 1% of the time. All right. That may be because very few agents are very good at geographic farming. But again, we're focused on the 4%. Personal contact by agent, 4% of the time. Visited an open house and met the agent 3% of the time. So if you're doing open houses, right, what was it? 6% of you have not only have a chance of meeting buyers, but 3% of the sellers said that that's where they met their agent at an open house. So the numbers, and I know, you go to YouTube and you're typing in how to be successful in real estate, and you're going to find people telling you to call for sale by owners, expired listings, geographic, targeted, what are they? I'm saying it wrong. Circle prospecting, right? Circle prospecting, where you get a listing or a sale and you get the phone numbers around it and you call them. You get a mojo dialer, right? That's dialing 3 numbers at one time, and you've got your headset on and you upload the list and you go for it. I know you've seen all those videos. And I'm not entirely sure. I'll get to. I'm gonna look at questions when I get to the end. Right. Dimitri always has a lot of good questions, but I'm going to just plug his head. All right. So where I'm going with this is that statistically speaking, it's not a huge percentage. And there are some reasons why I think it's becoming less so. And one reason is most people do not want to be interrupted by a phone call. One of the things if I talk to agents about is I do have some people that I recruited and coached who actually do a lot of phone calls and get business, but they're primarily in the commercial sphere, not in the residential. And one of the differences between calling commercial clients versus residential clients is a lot of the commercial clients are into commercial real estate, and you talking to them about commercial real estate to them is still viewed more as a business call rather than an interruption. But if you're talking about people that own a home, most of them do not want to be interrupted by a phone call. Like that's really true for everybody. But more than 70% say they would rather have email or text over phone calls. We know that the texting, email, social media, and browsing are more common uses of the phone than making calls. I don't like answering the phone. I really don't. I don't like listening to voicemails. I really don't. In fact, I have software that transcribes them and sends me the transcription. So I'll know what it is people are calling me about. I, as well as many people, would much rather get text messages and direct messages and things like that than a phone call. 1/3 to 1/2 of people, depending on who you talk to, have introverted personalities, right? Some of them are called engineers. You know, not just engineers, but engineers. And most introverts are not chatty on the phone as much. So you have real estate agents, and many of you have seen me go through the behavioral matrix, which is the different personality styles, and a typical real estate agent that's doing well happens to be what is called a high I, which is an influencer, an outgoing personality, the kind of person that will talk to everybody in the elevator, that sort of thing. However, the most common client does not fall into that category and is a much more introverted, and they don't necessarily want to do that. Another reason why I don't particularly push, teach, coach cold calling, right, is because not everybody has the stomach for it, right? Not everybody is built to do it. I can remember so many years ago, I was at a Keller Williams event, and they had the guy that was the #1 team in Keller Williams on the stage, and he was talking about his team and what he did and all that sort of stuff. By the way, he's no longer there at KW. But what he was talking about is his schedule is he would show up in the morning, he would stand, right, he wanted the standing thing with the mirror and the scripts and the leads and all that, and he put on his headphones and look at the mirror and smile and would call for 3 hours every morning. And he admitted that he hated doing it, he hated it, and but he was disciplined, and as soon as it was over, he'd take off the headset, and he was in San Diego, and across the street was the beach, and he would go surfing after that. Hated it, but did it every day. Now, I have a theory about real estate agents. And what that theory is that for most of us, if we do not find a way of finding clients that is either something we like to do or at least are comfortable doing, if we don't find a way of lead generating that we're comfortable with, then either we're probably not going to do it. And even if we do it, we're not going to do it for very long. And even if we do it and we do it for a long time, we're going to hate it, right? We're just not going to like it. And there's a lot of burnout. Building relationships is a better way. Now, I'm going to talk about two possibilities, and there are more, right? There's open houses, there are more. I had a list, right? But there are more. And one of the things that you might want to look at is what's known as inbound marketing. Now, what inbound marketing is that we do something such that we get people that are interested in our product or services to contact us. Now, what we do might involve a pay-per-click ad. It might involve social media posts. That could be pay-per-click ads. It might involve a blog. It might involve YouTube. And when we talk about social media, there's really three, in my opinion, three ways real estate agents use social media. Right, three, right? There's, I know more, right? Dimitri, don't type in 4 or 5 more, but I'm talking about 3 main ways. One way that real estate agents use social media is simply to stay in contact with their family, friends, and relatives, right? Simply as a way to let the people that you know that you're still in real estate. So occasionally you post real estate things and people might say, oh yeah, he's still in real estate. So in that category, social media is being used as a sphere of influence follow-up system, right? That's one way. The second is what I would call the business approach. And the business approach is to look at social media as simply a vehicle by which we can run ads to get people to reply to us so that they can go into our database and we could talk to them and we could work with them. That second way involves usually the spending of money, right? There's groups and things like that, but the way, what could you do right now, today, this morning, that would produce a lead today, this afternoon, advertising in the various social media, Google, Facebook, whatever. That's the second one, right? So the first way is to follow up with our sphere of influence. The second way is pay-per-click to run ads, to get leads. The third way is, I'll just call the influencer. And there are agents, because they want to and become effective at it, that make YouTube videos and they do things about real estate, which they post, and they're careful to post things that people are looking for, and they get people to watch their videos and subscribe to their channels, as an example, and eventually get leads and things like that. Now, influencing doesn't cost as much. You might need a camera or things like that. Basically involves software, but it requires you spending time in order to develop content that people would look for and like. Would you please share this doc? It's in the, there's a handout in the handout section, but because I just know, I'm going to send it to everybody. I'm putting in a direct link plus my name, for those of you who don't know, and a couple of other things, right, which I'm throwing in there. All right, hopefully that was it. So, sphere of influence, pay-per-click, influencing, right? And influencing means spending the time to come up with unique, relevant, up-to-date content in a manner and on topics that people would be likely to look for and find. Right? So what would that involve? Well, one is you would have to attract people with targeted content, social media, search engines, advocate referrals, email marketing, and things like that. Now, there are a range of options. First of all, most real estate agent websites, and I work for Keller Williams and I work for Century 21, and Century 21 uses essentially the same system that Coldwell Banker and Better Homes and Gardens and a lot of others use. And my impression of a typical real estate agent website is it's not a lead generating site. So most real estate agent websites, all that's there is really an ability for somebody to search for a house. And most buyers do not need your website to find homes for sale because they've heard of Zillow, right? They've heard of it. So I don't, they've heard of Zillow. The websites sometimes look like they were built in the 1990s, right? Now, if you want to get leads, that's unlikely to come from a typical real estate agent website. What you need are what are called landing pages, squeeze pages, lead magnets. You need to have something that you can use that can attract traffic. And I'll show you some examples of that, right, as we go through. Maybe I'll do that now, right? So one of the programs that I've been using is a company called Leads to ROI. And there's, this is what my dashboard looked like. I'm going to give you just a little bit of, and I have to still figure out where things are going. Workflows, marketing, is that what I want to do? That's not it. Reporting, scheduling. Anyhow, let me just drop down to this. And what I've gotten, and some of these came from Google Sites or whatever. Here, let me just go up here to go back. So in a period of 2.5 weeks, not quite 3 weeks, we spent $211 on 2 different Facebook ads, one buyer-oriented, one seller-oriented. And as a result of that investment of the $211, we have about between 90 and 100 leads right now. And that comes out to be, let's just round it to $2.50 per lead. Would you please share this, Doc? I got that. What is PP click? PP click means pay per click. PP click means there are a lot of places you could pay to get clicks. For example, Google and Facebook are the 2 most common ones. And this program, which I've included a link to, what it uses for landing pages is an integration with a company called Listings to Leads. I should have logged into this at the beginning. So this is actually integrated into, and let me see if I have the right one here. No, I'm not going to do this right now. So, because I have to log in with a different login. But the Listings to Leads, what it does is it creates, let me go back to my document. It creates landing pages. So the landing pages that we created, one of them was a landing page regarding properties that have been sold recently in a given target area, asking people if you're interested in finding out what your home might be worth. The other one was a property that was in the Santa Clara County area that really sounded too good to be true, and had gone pending, and it was a buyer-oriented leads. And so we run the ads, people come in, we launch a follow-up system. We've had an appointment with a buyer who's serious about buying and has money. You get the idea, right? So by not the web page, right? I don't send people to my website, because why would anybody want to do that? What I send people to is a landing page that might offer them information about down payment assistance programs, or how to buy a new home, or here's a bunch of properties in Blossom Valley, San Jose, that are for sale. If you're interested in Blossom Valley, that you get the idea. And what happens is people click on that, they fill out the form, and then it comes into the system. So once it comes into the system, I think I've already sort of got into that. By them filling out a form, and on the landing page, once it comes into the system, they go into an automatic contact follow-up system. If they give us the phone number, they get a text message right away. I mean, not instantly, because we want it to kind of look like I did it myself, right? So, right, if it's instant, then they, you know that it was a computer that just sent you the text message, and they go on a campaign where they get emails at a regular, and we watch what they're doing, we score the leads, and all of that sort of stuff is included. Then there has to be follow-up, right? And one of the things that we know is that not everybody that fills out one of these forms and does something online is interested in doing something right away. This is coming up where about 50% of the people that are internet leads don't buy anything for the next 12 to 24 months. So when they're looking at the buyers that are going through the system, right, people start doing this, filling out online forms, gathering information, sometimes a year to two before they're actually ready to buy, which is why you need a customer relationship management program. I sold a house to somebody 3 years after they registered on one of my landing pages. And by the way, when the guy registered, he put down as his name, Fred Flintstone, right? That's what he put down. And he had one of those email addresses that are, one of those email addresses that I think he just made up. So I didn't really believe he was Fred Flintstone, but the email that he gave worked, and he was reading the email, and after a while, he contacted me and said, I'd like to see this property, I'm really interested. He admitted his name wasn't Fred Flintstone, right? And I sold him a house and got paid more than a year after he first started, right? More than a year. So you're going to need to have a system that follows up with people for a long time. Now, when we're talking about following up with people that have given us their phone number in response to an interest that they've shown in something we're doing. So if a real estate agent just calls somebody and says, hi, my name is Chad, I'm calling to see if you're interested in buying a house, that may not always go over very well with a buyer. I mean, first of all, Chad, anyhow, they may not always go over well with a buyer. And you're more likely to get no, thank you, I'm not interested. But if somebody has actually replied to something and they're interested or looking at homes in downtown somewhere, and I could show you a few homes, what do you say? Now, that's a little bit different. That's not a cold call in that we're talking to somebody who gave us their phone number because they expressed an interest in buying a property in a given area, and we're just following up to see how that goes. So why do we need a CRM? This is from a study done by Risk Media. A lot of those involve Realtor.com and follow-up that they did. 50% did not convert for 12 to 24 months, which is why you need a long-term system to follow up with people. And then you need to come up with things to talk to them about, invite them to do. That could be videos, it could be home buying seminars, it could be something you're doing with a lender, things like that. So is it better to call people or text them? Well, most people, as we talked about, would rather get a text. More people, if you send people email, you can expect about a 20% open rate. Calling, 5 to 10% of the people maybe will pick up their phone, right? The study from the Keller group was a little bit higher than that, but I don't know when they did that study. I don't pick up the phone unless my phone tells me who it is that's calling and I recognize it. But 90% of the people would open response to text within a few minutes. So you're going to want to have a multiple channel approach. You need a CRM. I'm going to show you a little bit about that. And there are, a template would be somebody fills out a form and they hit your system, text them very quickly, call them within the first 5 minutes. If you call somebody back within the first 5 minutes, the chances of making an appointment go up. They remember what it is that they filled out that you're calling about. And I even have a couple of examples of some scripts and things that you might use, which I'm not going to read to you, but I'm just going to, just something for you to look at, to follow up. Now, so without cold calling, how do you get business? First of all, I hope you got from those first two charts that you really ought to be talking to the people you know. Because 40% for both buyers and sellers, when buyers and sellers were asked, how did you find your agent? 40% of the time they said they either were a family friend or coworker or were referred by a family friend or coworker. That's 40% of the time. For those of you with experience, when was the last time you talked to your past clients and customers? You might want to do that because about 20+% of the time, that's the second highest category. So you ought to be doing that. But what else could you be doing that would help you get business? Let me see what the questions are. Is this similar to a sales funnel concept? I'll talk about that. Another way to look at a sales funnel is like a pipeline. And the idea would be we run the ad, people fill out a form, they come into the database, it triggers a follow-up campaign from which we're reminded to make phone calls, they get text messages, we send them videos, right? We do all of that. And then the next step is they're going to eventually make an appointment, the ones that are serious, to look at homes, meet with a lender, or meet with us. And by talking to enough people, the pipeline starts to become apparent, where we have ideas as to who's likely to be buying a house this month, the next month, and the beginning of the year, and you can actually start to predict your business. But all of this is similar to a funnel or a pipeline. Before I go on to the vendor thing, I just want to, one of the things that, if you're interested in what would a database look like, or EXP uses KV Core. There are other programs. The one that I have actually been running the ads on is the Leads to ROI, which is a similar one. But this is what KV Core looks like. And what I would just point out is, let's say I go to a contact, and I have a lot of contacts in here, so I'll find one that I can mess around with. How about this guy here? All right, how about this guy? So for any particular contact, I could, when it comes here to actions, I could have a task, I could share, I could send evaluation, which would allow me to create a report. Let's say it's a homeowner about what's going on in their neighborhood. I could do other things, right? So if I create a group of people, here, let me just go back. If I created a group of people, let's say all of these people, right? All of these people with the last name Devlin, notice my options are is to send them an email, send them a text, send them a video, or add them to different campaigns and things like that. I can even send voicemails to people. That's the ones that go right to their phone. So that's the kind of thing you're looking like. And when we're talking about creating pages, that would be something that you would be able to do through, oops, where are we going here? Where they're called landing pages. That would be an example of what a landing page might look like, though you could modify it. So before I get into the next segment, your options for setting up things like this is you could do it yourself. There's some third-party software that you could subscribe to. You could work with a company that provides you with the ability to create landing pages and squeeze pages and has advertising platforms. And if you're interested in getting somebody to do it for you, you can see that there's actually, they have systems that you can pay for and get people to do it. All right. But where is the business coming from, right? A lot of agents, my business picked up a lot in 2020 and 2021, a lot. And I noticed agents that were good at internet marketing were still doing well, even though we weren't doing open houses and it was hard to show property and all of that other stuff. So let's talk about something else. So how do you get business without cold calling? You talk to the people you know. You might, for between, well, I spent $200. I'm spending $2.50 a lead. If I were farming, what would it cost me to print postcards and mail them out? How many of those would I have to send to how many people before I got somebody back? In other words, that might be more expensive. But so we're going to internet lead generation. The other thing that I would recommend as a YouTube influencer, is it better to speak for the agent in front of the camera? They can handle, just make the video with text, pictures, and music. Social media wants to be social. They want to see your face. They do. Now, I'm not saying that there aren't videos with a lot of, viewers that where you don't see what the agent is, but you'll find that most of the real estate agents that are doing well on YouTube are talking in front of the camera. They're being expressive. You can see their face, you can see their movements, and that creates more of a personal connection than just hearing a voice, right? You could have somebody make the videos for you if all it's going to be is a voice. It doesn't even have to be your voice. It could be somebody with a nice accent or something that sounds stylish. I don't know, right? But I would most of the time we're doing it ourselves. All right. Let's say you're really serious about making money in real estate. When I coach agents about how do I get my business going, one of the things I start with is, would you like an assignment, right? Would you like an idea? Something that you could do and implement that would help you make more money in real estate. How many of you would like to hear an idea that would help you, won't cost you very much money, if anything, right? That would help you make more money in real estate, right? This is my idea. Talk to 2 loan agents a day, 5 days a week, and do it for 4 weeks. 2 loan agents a day, 5 days a week for 4 weeks. What kind of loan agents should you talk to? You should talk to banks, credit unions, and mortgage brokers. Now, what are you going to talk to them about? Well, let's say I call the bank up and I say, by the way, I've done this just walking in, but I call up and I say, I'd like to talk to one of your loan agents, and they'll say, what's this about? And I say, it's to talk about, I'm a real estate agent and I want to talk to a loan agent about how we could work together with some clients. They're going to take that call, right? I'm just telling you, they're going to take the call. You can go meet them at the office if we're doing that at that time. You could meet them at Starbucks if they have the time, but they're certainly going to be willing to talk to you on a Zoom call. They'll be willing to talk to you. Sometimes I actually go to the branches because you'll see the pictures of the loan agents and their phone number and their business cards, and it has their cell phone number, and I just call them. And so we show up, right? We show up and there they are, the loan agent, and I'd say, hi, thanks for taking a moment to talk to us. We really appreciate it. The reason we reached out to you is because, well, you're Bank of America, and I anticipate that we're going to be working together in the future, and I just thought it would be a good idea to come in and introduce myself, and if you've got a couple of minutes, maybe you could share what you see going on in the market and with loans and that sort of stuff, and any niche products that you have, right? Sometimes these are called portfolio loans, which are the loans the lender doesn't sell. Tell me what I need to know so that we could work together better in the future. Now, this, you understand, is a pretty slow pitch to a salesperson, and they'll talk for 5 or 45 minutes, right, about stuff. And by the way, I've always learned things from this experience. And what sometimes you'll hear is the loan agent's going to say, you got somebody with bad credit, send them to me. We got some special programs for people that are credit issues. We can take care of it. Others are going to say, hey, you got bad credit. I don't want to talk to them. If you've got somebody with more than 25% down, call me. I can beat anybody's loan when you have a low loan to value ratio. And yes, Rosa, you're going to get a copy of the video afterwards. Right. So what do we do at the end when they're done talking about what they see happening in the market and their loans that are popular and that sort of thing? I say, great, that's wonderful. I really appreciate you taking the time to share that with me. By the way, I bet from time to time you run across somebody who is, you're helping to get a loan to buy a home, but they don't have a real estate agent yet, I would love to work with them. I would love to work with those people. Now, sometimes if you're getting along with the loan agent, right then and there, they'll say, yeah, I got somebody right now, you could call them. Sometimes they're going to say, how about this? You give me business, I'll give you business. Right. By the way, at that point, I ask the loan agent if they like to do open houses, because they usually do. And if you're doing open houses, then you have something that a loan agent might want. The loan agent has a better chance of getting a client at an open house than you do. There are more people that will change lenders before they'll change agents, right? So, and then if they're still like, oh, well, that's great, yeah, maybe, I would say, well, you know, I'll bet that in the past you've given out leads maybe to other real estate agents and never heard from them again, right? Never got anything. You don't know if they bought a house. You don't know if they're still on the market. Why don't you give me all of those older ones and let me call them and see if they're still interested in working with you? Does everybody see where I'm going with this? Now, I've had agents say it doesn't work, right? This does not work, right? You know, and I always say, well, how many loan agents have you talked to? And they usually say 2 or 3. That's not enough. It's not enough. 2 a day, 5 days a week. Right, that's 10 a week. For 4 weeks, that's 40 loan agents. Now the goal, they're all not, you're not going to like all 40 of them, and they're not all going to like you. The goal is we're looking for 2, 3, 4 maybe that are going our way and that we could work with. By the way, don't, if you're in an office, this is one of my rules. If a loan agent will come to your office to talk to you, that's probably the wrong loan agent. If the loan agent is being referred to you by the top agent in your office, that's probably not the right loan agent, because they're unlikely to be giving you business, right? There are some loan agents that are looking for business from you, whereas we're looking for the loan agents that might actually have leads that we could work together. Agents will say to me, well, you know, I got somebody who wants to be an investor and they don't know, should they do a long-term hold? Should they do a short-term flip? Which one has the best return on their investment? What should I tell them? Right? And my response to that always is, are you a certified financial planner? And the answer is, no. Well, then maybe you shouldn't be giving financial planning advice if you're not a certified financial planner. If you're a real estate agent, would it be useful for you to know a certified financial planner? I actually did a workshop some years ago with a certified financial planner, and it was called How to Send Your Kids to College and Make Money in the Process. How about that? How to send your kids to college and make money in the process. And where we got to at the end of the seminar was, if you bought a condo or a townhome, right, 2 bedrooms, 2 baths, maybe, and then the kid lives in one, you rent the other one out to another college student, and then at the end of the 4 years, you sell it and you make a profit, and there's deductions, and you get the idea, right? You know, so you might want to know, how about CPAs? Have you ever had a client ask you, you know, about CPAs? Now, where I'm going with this is agents will say to me, do you know a good landscaper? And so this is my reaction is, what you might want to do is you go to Yelp and you look for landscapers that are in your area, that not the big ones necessarily, but some of the independent ones, and you call them up. And you say something like this: hi, my name's Mike, I'm a real estate agent. I'm putting together a preferred vendor list for my client database, and I happen to need a good landscaper. And I can tell from your reviews that you're killing it in the landscaping end of it. Are you taking on new clients at this time? Now, I've actually had people say, no. I mean, I just had a guy quit. I got a big project. I can't do anything until I get this project done. Fine, call another landscaper, right? The next one says, yeah, absolutely. I'm taking on new clients. Great, maybe we could work together. When your clients have real estate questions, do you have somebody that you refer them to? Sometimes they'll say, yes, my wife's an agent, my husband's an agent, my son's an agent, my mother's an agent, my aunt's an agent, my best friend's an agent. Great, call another landscaper. Now, I think you realized already that within a relatively short period of time, you'll be having conversation with a landscaper who, number one, wants to grow their business, and number two, doesn't have a networking arrangement with a real estate agent already. Now, for those of you that have attended real estate meetings, right, board of realtors at your company, the warning ones, don't get sued. If what do they tell you when it comes to recommending vendors? What do they tell you? Do they tell you that if somebody wants a kitchen remodeler, that you should give them one name of a kitchen remodeler? Is that what your broker and the lawyers from CIR recommend? The answer is no, that's not what they recommend. They recommend typically at least three. So for you to flesh out your vendor database, you should have three landscapers. 25% of people that paint their house say they're doing it because they plan on selling. 25%. How many house painters do you know? How many house painters are in your database? Think about it. If you were going to sell your house, who would you talk to? Would you talk to people that haul stuff away, remove garbage? Would you be talking to house painters and house cleaners and maybe landscapers and maybe flooring contractors and kitchen remodelers? And you see where I'm going with this. And so one of my suggestions for agents, instead of going out door knocking, go out store knocking. I've actually had agents that I was coaching that had got a job at one of these high-end places that sell like kitchen appliance, like the faucets, all of the tiles and stuff like that for kitchens and bathrooms. And virtually everyone, it seemed like, that was coming in was planning on selling their home, and the agent was getting so many leads, she tried to go part-time so she could work with the leads. She came to me, by the way, to say, what am I supposed to do? I've got more leads than I can work with, but they won't let me go part-time, and I don't have enough time to work with all the leads. And that's when I said, you need a partner, right? You need an assistant. You need somebody that can do that other work for you, because that's how they were lead generated. So if you were thinking of selling your home, and I was interviewing as, to be your listing agent, and you said, well, Mike, you can see the tenants really left the place a mess. I'll bet you know somebody that can come and make all that junk in the backyard go away. Huh? Do you know any haulers, people like that? And no, I don't know anyone who does that. Okay, fine. Well, you can see the sod is really shot in the front, and we really need to, to fix the front yard, curb appeal and all that. I bet you know some landscapers that can come out and make the front yard look really nice, huh? And I say, no, I don't know any landscapers. Okay, well, how about, the floors and the kitchen and the bathroom, they're all torn up. We're gonna need to put in something with the porcelain tile. You got any references for people that are flooring contractors or handle that sort of thing? And I say, no, I don't know any of those either. Now, at this point, you're probably thinking, I'm not much of a real estate agent. How can I be a real estate agent if I don't know anybody that does anything in real estate? Right. Now, you will know, and by the way, this is agents, they say, well, yeah, I got my vendor database together. Really, how did you do it? Well, the board of realtors has a list of people. That's it? That's what you did? You took the board of realtors, or my company has a list of people. Or the top agent in my company gave me their list. That's not going to help you, right? You understand? The reason we're doing this is, first, we do want to find good vendors, good people that we can refer clients to. But what we really want to do is we want to get referrals. And what we want to do, how about this? We don't need vendors. We need partners. That's what we're looking to do. We're looking to find a partner group, right? People that we support and they support us. We refer them business, they refer us business. I was doing an open house, my listing, one of the agents that I was coaching wanted to see, she said, I wanted to see the master do an open house. That's what she said. It was in Gilroy, kind of a ugly day, drizzly, hardly anybody came to the open house. Finally, this couple come in, they're walking through the house fast, right? Husband's not talking. I'm trying to engage the wife. She won't have anything to do with me. She's not answering questions, barely being civil. And then while she's being rude to me, I see out of the corner of my eye the agent that laughing at me because she could see that there was obviously no magic in my words, right? And as they're leaving, they basically said, "Don't follow us upstairs. You know, we're okay, right?" And so as they're done heading out the door, I said, "So what do you folks do for a living?" And she nods at the husband and says, "He's a plumber." And I said, "A plumber? Well, that's fantastic. You know, I'm putting together a preferred vendor list for my client database, and I happen to need a good plumber." You know, people always ask me, "Do you know a good plumber? Is he any good?" Right now, he luckily starts laughing. She says, "He's the best. I manage his plumbing business," and out of her purse comes a business card. Right? And it has her first name, her last name, her email, her cell phone, the office number. Within 2 weeks, we were in contract on another house in Gilroy. Right? They were leaving, right? But that was enough of a connection. I could see her doing the math in her head. We're plumbers. This is a real estate agent. Maybe we ought to be nice and talk to them. Now, somebody asked, how do we ask them for referrals? You say, "Look, I'm going to refer business to you, but I'm expecting that if you hear from anybody, you're going to refer business to me too." And you might actually have to train them. You might have to ask them to ask the seller, why the landscaping? What are you planning on doing? Why are you painting your house at this time? One of the agents that I worked with was at one point selling solar panels. And he said that one of the most common objections as to why somebody didn't want to buy a solar panel today is because they were planning on selling their home. We're going to sell our home in the near future, so now we're not going to do it. How many solar panel salespeople are in your database? Just wondering. So I've got some sample scripts. So who might be on that list? Well, this is a long list, right? I know it's like everybody that could have anything to do, right? But you might want to pick who are the ones that are most likely to give us business. Well, some of the trades, financial planners and CPAs, if we can have a working relationship with them, loan agents. Now, what are we going to do? So once we've talked to somebody, we're going to want to put them into our database. Now, this is an old school system, right? Which would mean if I put somebody into my database, I might want to send them a handwritten note, right? Why do we do that? Because people aren't used to getting them, right? It used to be a thing, not so much. Then maybe a week later, we might have a call, and the call was, "Hey, really good talking to you. By the way, did you get my note? That's wonderful. You know, everyone have coffee sometime, let me know." Then another week, we might send them an added value. All of the people, all of these vendors may not know what we know about what's going on in the real estate market. And do you have any kind of a what's going on in my area kind of newsletter? If you don't, you probably should, because you're going to want to be communicating with your database. We might then another week make another phone call, right? And this would be, "Hey, did you get my newsletter?" And you know, you just want to just keep it going. You might send them some sort of a holiday greeting. You might find them on social media. There's a rotating of phone calls every once in a while, coffee meetings. You know, one of the metrics that I think you ought to be looking at is how many coffee dates do you have every week? And I know this sounds insane for me to say, but some of you, I don't think, are drinking enough coffee. You're not drinking enough coffee, right? Because having coffee with people that could refer us business is a relatively quick and easy way to meet with them and connect. Look them up on social media. Now, I've discussed there's a system, the people that are in your database. Some of this is reflected in the 8-week program. You ought to be sending them at least, the 8-week program is designed so that they remember who we are. Because if the landscaper is asked, you know, a good realtor, we need to be the first name that comes to their mind, or they're not going to get to us if we're third or fourth. So that's why we're a little bit more concentrated at the beginning, but then on a normal rolling basis, we want to be sending like 2 emails a month. We want to call them at least once every quarter. And when they have a birthday or something, we ought to acknowledge that and do something. So the goal of going through all those different groups and putting them on a follow-up campaign, and by the way, KV Core, which is the program that we use, has segments where you could set up for vendors and that sort of thing. This is the goal from doing all this. The goal is to eventually find 10 business partners, 10, that might refer 2 people a year to you. We're looking for 10 that will refer 2. And if we keep expanding this, we eventually want another 30 that will send us 1 referral a year. That's all we want. 10 that will send us 2 referrals a year, and 30 that will send us 1 referral a year. And if you had 50 leads, you could probably make some money from doing it. I bet you could make money doing it. So, by the way, you'll notice I do things with lenders. You'll notice I have home buying seminars. I've had 70 people show up for one home buying seminar, 90 people show up for another home buying seminar. That was pre-COVID. In COVID virtual home buying seminars, I've had 35, 40 people show up. Once you find your posse, the group of people that you're working with, you find ways of working together with them. Referral events you could do together, things you could do together, ways you can, by the way, would it help if you had information about what people ought to do for landscaping and gardening tips? Maybe your landscaper or gardener people could give you some of those. So you understand, lenders, by the way, if you get on their email list, have lots of information about what's going on in the market. You could get them to share content that you could put on your blog or post on social media. The idea is to work together. Anyhow, that, I hope you found that useful. How many people? Oh, 50. Not everybody showed up. But the ones that are important, you all did. Any questions before I throw in the towel for today? I'm a couple minutes over. All right. And if you're in my coaching program or not, and you'd like to find out, how about this? If you're interested in finding out more ways in which you can increase your real estate business, reach out to me. Let me see a couple of questions. What are these? Let me do this. What kind of note can we send them? Any ideas? Sure, the note is, hi, really good talking to you today. I look forward to working with you. If I ever can be of assistance, let me know. Have a great day. How about that? The useful information. How do we get around the do not call list? By not calling people that haven't already given us their phone number. So that's one of the things I didn't talk about. One of the problems with the real estate agent cold calling is very few of the systems comply with the do not call list. And if you ask them, do you comply with the do not call list, they're going to say, no, that's up to you. And I've actually heard real estate trainers say, well, we're offering a service, we're not selling anything. That's not what the National Association of Realtors attorneys say. We're obligated to follow the do not call list, which cold calling generally does not. So if somebody gives us their phone number in response to a request for information and we call them back, that's not a violation of the do not call list, but because they contacted us, we already have a business relationship with them. Therefore, it doesn't violate it. Do you know anything about the Set Schedule? Set Schedule is one of the many real estate referral companies. If you Google search Set Schedule reviews, you will see that virtually nobody likes them. And rather than doing that, why don't you do some of the things I talked about today? And yes, somebody said I was covering the basics, which makes me feel warm inside. I hope that was enough for you guys. If you want more, would like to talk to me about, getting more business, you've got my link. Go ahead, and I would love to talk to you. Be safe out there, everybody.